It's raining outside. There's a storm coming. A demographic and economic storm which could engulf us on August the 2nd, 2011. Because the American AAA rating may be downgraded by Moody's and other rating agencies. What does this mean? It could mean an economic catastrophe, in Bernake's words, and could mean a new order of the world's power ratios. If America defaults, in the opinion of George Friedman, the author of The Next 100 Years, then China is a captive nation to American consumerism, because China's economic system is completely based on exports. It is not using its production of goods such as cars, fridges, white goods, and goods and services for its own domestic consumption. It is only selling them to Europe or the United States. If the United States goes down, therefore, what it means to the United States in terms of loss of productivity, loss of jobs, is that there will be unemployment, mass unemployment, perhaps a depression. But for China, it will mean that China may implode. The four satellite regions of China, Tibet, Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia, Manchuria, may decide to break away from the coast of China, the regional coast of China where there is prosperity. And what it means is malnutrition. It means starvation. But are the Chinese actually willing to accept this? It could in fact solve their problem, counter to the point of George Friedman, that the United States would in effect have wiped out a large portion of surplus population, as the Chinese would put it. What does it also mean? The increasing power of the Saudi Arabian royal family, a crime family, who hold so much US debt and in sovereign wealth funds. It means that they will be able to have more of a free reign and a free hand in the world, with America as the diminished power. America is already a militaristic superpower, a hyperpower, and it is an extremely militaristic and militarized society. Look at the distribution of arms factories and bases in the United States, and how it's all linked in with an industrial military complex. In Europe, we have a significant problem from the Saudi Arabians, because they are, along with the Bin Laden crime family, are sponsoring radical jihadist movements, of which Europe has not been able to integrate these populations into its culture as well as the United States. But that may be a saving grace to the European Union, because the European Union is trying to preserve its culture of social democracy, European values of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the economic rights, the right to join a union, the right to have a house, and a university education. Will it be able to do that if it's not reproducing itself, as Europeans seem to have stopped reproducing themselves and replacing themselves? In fact, Germany could lose a quarter of its population over the next 25 years. The problem is the perhaps perceived military weakness of Europe. Although Europe has 6 million men under arms, it is not under a unified central command such as the United States, which means that although Europe has 6 times as many men as the United States having 1 million men, and the United States having debt burdens of $14.7 trillion, which is far greater than the Greek crisis or the Spanish crisis or even Italian crisis all put together. Europe has a strong central partnership between England, France and Germany, which was created by the university system after the Second World War to prevent the rise of the Soviet Union and the invasion of Western Europe by the Soviet Union, and also to prevent National Socialism coming back. So a moderate nationalism for the entire European continent is of course acceptable, and and also social democracy, which works to the point of maximum social benefit and works in the social market to produce goods and services which are not wasted through unobtainable surplus. Well, that's a lot of economic jargon to many people, but it means that there is less abandoned houses in Europe than in other places, such as the United States. Europe has a high density population, and how do we grow our economy? In many ways, the economy has grown in Europe as far as it can in terms of the civil way of doing things. The United States has chosen a militarized route, which has produced the microchip for intercontinental ballistic missiles to hit Russia, which has produced a internet service, although that was created by an Englishman, which has then spread into the civil sphere. Although the European model of social democracy and civil postmodern development, our research and development means that products and services can automatically be put into the civilian sphere. It also means that there is perhaps a lag behind in the military sphere. You know, places all over Britain, and famously Fort Halstead, they are creating weapons and building them for the protection of Europe and the United Kingdom and England. But how can we increase our economy and our military at the same time? Well, that will mean a military Keynesian approach, which will mean, as I said before in my videos on military Keynesianism, that we may have to run deficits in the future to provide us with a military ability to protect ourselves from perhaps the breakup of Russia, the breakup of China, the breakup of India. All these are possible in a post-August 2nd world where America defaults and America turns inward. America is an extremely dynamic nation, but if it turns inward as it has before, other nations which are even more dynamic, such as Japan, may take an interest in exporting their economic resources and capital to China, and thus have an interest in maintaining military control over China. This has happened 3 times before in the 20th century. But what will be important for Europe will be to fight, one, a low-level war against jihadism, which may mean nothing more than training troops in the use of boxing, knives and poison even, you know, which the Bin Ladens and Saudis use regularly, and that's the method that they've used to kill most of the people rather than bombs and bullets. Inside Europe, in an intelligence war against radical Islam and also perhaps even other extremist groups that are within the immigrant population. What we must do is preserve our social democracy, which means liberty and equality, but liberty and equality cannot be extended to these populations which seek to destroy that very liberty and equality that we're fighting for and which we would like them to embrace. What we also need to do is dominate space and the globe in partnership with the United States, hopefully. But if the United States was, for instance, to become extremely militaristic towards Europe, or that we had to intervene into the United States because of secessionist movements from Mexican immigrants in the southwestern states of America wanting to secede, even if the United States develops a North American Union, it is perhaps unlikely that they'll be able to hold on to those states and hold on to Mexico, as Mexico increases its share of the world's economic power from 13th to 10th into the G8. If Europe does not unite and does not have significant military power, such as 24 carrier groups or significant numbers of aircraft and main battle tanks, and also cyber warfare, which is the future, then we should be nothing at all and not a power on the G8.